New York to DC, one of the most traveled city pairs in the United States. Premium passengers typically consider two options, train or plane. Amtrak's Acela will get passengers between NYC and DC in around 3 hours for $350. Flying takes around 90 minutes and costs around $160 for first-class travel, but you have to deal with the hassle of airports, TSA, and luggage restrictions, which adds back that precious time saved en route. But what if there was an alternative? A road-going alternative? That's where the Jet comes in. The Jet is a first-class bus service operating between New York and DC and offers passengers an experience more akin to a private jet than a bus. So hello and welcome to New York City, where today we'll be flying the Jet down to Washington, D.C. Even before boarding, one of the Jet's key features is on display: downtown stops. The Jet brings passengers directly into the heart of each city, stopping at Hudson Yards in NYC and Metro Center in DC. Despite the Jet's great pickup and drop-off location, my travels somehow aligned perfectly with construction work on the 7 train, which meant no subway service to 34th Street Hudson Yards, so I was almost late. Fortunately though, the Jet is a courteous service, and will give missing passengers a call 5 minutes ahead of departure just to make sure that they're still on their way. I made it to the bus about 4 minutes before our scheduled departure time and was welcomed on board and shown to our seat. After one last passenger made their way on board, we set off for our 4-hour ride down to DC. As we make our way through downtown Manhattan, let's take a look at our route down to DC. Our ride on the Jet begins crossing under the Hudson River, splitting the gap between Newark and Jersey City down I-95. The freeway corridor takes us through central New Jersey, clipping the outskirts of Trenton and East Philadelphia before crossing the Delaware River into Delaware. Our time in Delaware is short-lived, with our bus reaching the Maryland border not long after entering the Diamond State. I-95 crosses the Susquehanna River, crossing through the Maryland forests and past Baltimore via the Fort McHenry Tunnel. We change over onto US 295 for the remainder of our ride, suburbs transitioning to downtown as we enter the District of Columbia. We'll cover a total of 230 miles between the Big Apple and the US Capitol, with a travel time of 4 hours and 15 minutes. Leaving New York, we pass by the LIRR's West Side Yard and dip down into the Lincoln Tunnel. Traffic through the tunnel is somehow fairly smooth, and we're out onto the New Jersey Turnpike after a few minutes below the river. Despite the fog, the New York skyline is still ever visible on the opposite bank of the Hudson River. The Northeast Corridor runs parallel to our route past Secaucus. We could be on a train right now, cruising down the High Iron, but instead we're on a bus, and sometimes life is better on the bus. I know it certainly is on the Jet. Newark Liberty International Airport comes into view, a reminder of yet another alternative to the Jet. An actual jet. Now of course flying is faster than driving, it always has been and always will be, but that's only the flight itself. You still have to get to the airport ahead of departure, wait at your gate, board, taxi, fly, land, taxi again, deplane, get your luggage if you brought any, and only then are you still a 30-minute journey from downtown. Total all that up and you end up spending about the same amount of time from end to end as you would on the Jet. Now, by far the coolest and most luxurious amenity on the Jet are the seats. At a glance, they look like normal first-class seats, but it's what's underneath that really makes them special. These seats hover. The Jet's hover seats use active motion-canceling technology, which is derived from the Bose ride system used in heavy-duty vehicles. The system uses a linear electric motor to counteract the vertical movements of the vehicle, while a secondary pneumatic system is used to adjust the whole seat up and down. Combine this with some of the nicest interior upholstery I've ever seen, a 70-degree recline angle, and a leg rest, and you have a recipe for one of the nicest rides you'll ever experience on the ground. It's really strange to see the bus move in response to the road, only to see the seats move in an entirely different frame of reference. I have to say this feature sounds super weird at first, but it is amazing how effective it is. The ride is super smooth, as if flying through clean air at 35,000 feet. Of course, the seats do more than just hover. For starters, there are about 6 feet between each row of seats, which means there's more legroom than even I know what to do with. The seat recline and vertical position are controlled by the lever on the rear and switches on the bottom respectively. The leg rest taps into the pneumatic system and pops out into place using the lever on the side. Tray tables can be found in the armrest and fold out across passengers' laps. The tabletop is rubberized to prevent snacks and laptops from sliding about while in transit. Cup holders are found on the wall just beyond the seat, with a coat or bag hook a little farther forward. Above each row are lights, air vents, and a driver alert button. Airline-style luggage bins are found on either side of the bus and are large enough to store personal belongings. Larger bags are stowed in the luggage hold below the bus before departure, so these are more than enough storage for anything you'd be bringing on board. Powering a personal device is never an issue, with 2 outlets, 3 USB Type-A ports, and 1 USB Type-C port found on the power point below the window. The jet doesn't include in-flight entertainment, but what they do provide is free Wi-Fi, and oh boy is that Wi-Fi fast. When transit services say they provide free Wi-Fi, they usually mean a slow network that can only be used to do some light web browsing. Not on the jet. Connecting to the jet's network reveals the sheer power of their Wi-Fi network. Immediately, my speed test goes off the charts and keeps on climbing to a staggering 155 megabits per second before leveling off at 148. That's some home internet levels of connectivity on a bus. While we're enjoying the ride, why not hit that subscribe button? It's totally free and it really helps support the channel. If you want to go the extra mile with your support, then feel free to check out the channel's Patreon or become a channel member. Patrons and members get their names in the video, access to exclusive weekly posts, and even the opportunity to vote on future videos. If those perks pique your interest, then click the links in the top right or in the description below to learn more. As with all first-class services, the jet has an onboard attendant. Our attendant came through fairly frequently to make sure that everything was alright and that we were enjoying the ride. The first pass through the cabin included the snack selection for today's ride. Food service on the jet is really the only part of the experience that isn't quite at that first-class level. Passengers are offered any number of options from a selection of light snacks, plus the usual suite of non-alcoholic beverages, coffee, and water. For the adults in the room, the jet also allows passengers 2 complimentary alcoholic beverages per ride. From the snack list, I chose some trail mix, pretzels, and a Biscoff cookie, plus a Coke to drink. If you're ever feeling hungry or just need something in general, then all you need to do is get the attention of your attendant, and they'll do their best to make your ride more enjoyable. The fog finally lifted as we passed Camden, the sun illuminating the Turnpike as we cruised south. Sitting so close to the front has the advantage of being able to look out the massive front windows, which give passengers a great vantage point of the ride ahead. It had been a very early morning and a long couple of days leading up to this adventure, so I took the time to enjoy those hover seats and passed out for a bit. I slept through our entire crossing of Delaware, waking up just before we reached the Susquehanna River. Spanning the river is the Millard E. Tidings Memorial Bridge. Opened in 1963, the bridge stands 90 feet above the water below and covers just short of a mile at 5,061 feet. The white buildings of Port Deposit are the only signs of life on the riverbanks, the rest covered in untouched forest. With the road ahead looking smooth, we can get up to have a look at the rest of our coach. At the rear of the cabin is the galley. There are 2 fridges with plenty of drinks, a coffee maker, and a tray of assorted snacks. As I would later learn, it is requested that passengers ask the attendant to bring snacks and drinks to them instead of going back to the galley. This greatly reduces the number of people moving about and thus the possibility for injury. From back here, we also get a sweet view of those hover seats in action. Now, one thing to take note of is how many seats there are, 14 in total. With so few seats, you would expect ticket prices to be high, but they're actually quite reasonable considering the quality of service. Tickets start at $99 and can go up to $200, with our ticket today costing $157. $149 of that is the base fare, plus an additional $8 to sit on the premium or single side of the bus. The Jet's coach fleet also includes a bathroom at the rear of the bus, and it is single-handedly the nicest bathroom I've ever seen on any transportation service. Stepping inside, it isn't hard to figure out why. The vanity includes a clean faux marble countertop, deep sink, an integrated paper towel dispenser, soap and hand sanitizer dispensers, two 120-volt outlets, and an illuminated mirror. And the sink isn't just any sink, it's a proper sink that outputs a ton of water in a single sheet, like you would find at a high-end restaurant or hotel. The opposite wall includes a full-size toilet with appropriate toilet paper holder, and get this, a cushioned backrest. They really have thought of everything to make this journey just that little bit more comfortable. Oh yeah, and the floor is properly tiled too. Easily a 10 out of 10 bathroom, and by far and away the best I've seen on board any vehicle. On my way back to our seat, I asked the attendant for a cup of coffee. Only a few minutes later was the coffee hand-delivered to us, accompanied by the appropriately Jet-branded cup sleeve and napkin. We've seen a lot about the interior of this bus, but nothing about the bus itself, so why not take a look at some stats about our coach? Taking us down to DC today is one of the Jet's 2019 Prevost X345 coaches. Each X345 is powered by a 13-liter Volvo D3 straight-six engine producing 435 horsepower. The engine is mated to a Volvo I-Shift 12-speed automated manual transmission with 8 forward gears and 4 reverse gears. Prevost X345 buses measure in at 45 feet long, 8.5 feet wide, and 11.2 feet tall, with a total vehicle weight of 53,000 pounds. The X345 is one of 3 coaches that the company produces. The other 2 are the H345 and the Volvo 9700. Now, Volvo is notably not the same name or brand as Prevost, but the engine and transmission should give away that Volvo is Prevost's parent company, which is why the 9700 is listed as a Prevost vehicle. I-95 crosses back over the Northeast Corridor, with downtown Baltimore ever visible from the highway flyovers. Transitioning onto the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, we left urban Baltimore behind for the tree-lined roads of central Maryland. Approaching DC, traffic finally caught up with us. Fortunately, this is all according to plan, with the Jet baking traffic delays into its advertised schedule. With only a few minutes left on our ride today, we can answer the question, is the Jet worth it? I honestly have to say that yes, it is. I mean, the seats themselves effectively make the ride worth the price, but everything else is just the cherry on top. The convenient pickup locations, friendly staff, luxury atmosphere, comfortable upholstery, and one of the nicest bathrooms you'll find on any road-going vehicle mean that the Jet is truly a new player in the high-end travel market. Of course, the food does leave something to be desired, as first-class passengers on Amtrak are given a full complimentary meal, while the Jet only provides a selection of snacks. A lack of a proper station is also another point of contention for the Jet. First-class passengers on Amtrak or airlines are allowed access to first-class lounges ahead of departure, which can be a big selling point for premium travelers. Putting all that aside, for how much you're paying, the Jet is by far the best value for first-class passengers. And even for regular commuters, the Jet is still worth it. With prices comparable to Northeast Regional or Acela Business Class, the Jet will be more comfortable and relaxing than any train between New York and DC. So with that, I say it is absolutely worth it to fly the Jet. Our ride crosses the Anacostia River, passes the US Capitol, and dives down into the 12th Street Expressway before emerging back out into the sunlight and downtown DC. As our ride comes to an end, we can start to bring today's video to a close. Next week, we'll be back in North Carolina for a 12-hour business class ride on Amtrak's Carolinain from Greensboro to New York City. If If you're new around here, then why not hit that subscribe button? It's totally free and it really helps support the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my patrons and channel members. If you too want your name in the video or just want to support the channel in more ways than one, then head on over to the links in the description below. Our driver winds his way through the streets of DC, pulling to a stop at our destination about 10 minutes ahead of schedule. Grabbing our belongings, we can step off our coach and out into Washington, DC. With one final look at our Prevost coach, our driver and attendant load back up and the jet flies off to get ready for its next ride. But anyways, that's all I have for today. Thanks for riding with me, and I'll see you in the next one.